It's a Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. Your Day Weather podcast brought to you by ConverseCountyTourism.com. Feel the energy of Converse County. Explore Douglas's Railroad Heritage, Ayers Natural Bridge, and the Jackalope Legend. Glen Rock boasts scenic trails, dinosaur history, and small town charm. Plan your visit at ConverseCountyTourism.com. Well, the weather system that came through yesterday, as you'll see in a minute, was feast or famine, depending on where you are in terms of the precipitation. Moisture has come through the region in some areas, leaving other areas dry, some areas wet. Today is going to be warmer. A few scattered showers and thunderstorms will pop, but overall we're basically just in between weather systems today. Another front comes out of northwest Canada and the Pacific Northwest through the region late tonight through Wednesday night. Now this next system is not nearly as moist or as intense as the last system, but it will produce a little bit of weather and a little bit of a cool down north to south Wednesday through Thursday morning. We're going to see with that front some showers and thunderstorms on the plains, some higher elevation snowfall as it quickly zips on through. Then we're going to have a big warm up as we get into Friday through Sunday. Southerly flow will return to the region. This is not unlike what happened this past weekend, where we had a period of cool conditions, then we had a big warm up, and then we wait for the next weather system. We're going to see some thunderstorm activity, especially Sunday. Sunday might be a day of severe weather. We'll just kind of keep an eye on that. Then we have this larger storm system that we talked about yesterday. We'll talk about that again. Also, some of you are inquiring about those changes out in the Pacific, where those sea surface temperatures really got cold again off the coast of South America. We'll see what's happened over the last week and take a look at that. Beautiful shot there in the whole back. A lot of spring snow in the western mountains and northern mountains of Wyoming, eastern Idaho. And you'll see in a minute, a lot of moisture up into Montana. So always good to see that spring moisture still going up into the high country for the runoff later. And good moisture. You can see things greening up here along the Bighorns. And we'll highlight here in a minute the rainfall, which was extremely impressive over the last 24 hours in some areas. And getting scenes like this all the time now. The birds really showing up and showing themselves and getting more active. So I'm going to go through some areas here where the rainfall was really quite remarkable and good. Now, some of you are going to be extremely frustrated by this because there's a lot of you who need the rain and will see this and get a little jealous, and I don't blame you. But look at these totals up into southern areas of Montana yesterday. Over 4 inches there near Fishtail, Montana. And if you take a look, Sheridan County, right along the Wyoming-Montana border. Now, keep in mind what's remarkable about this, and this is where you've got to have some hope if you're in a drought area, is that this is a part of Wyoming and the region that was in severe drought going back to summer and fall 2024. Remember the fires? Well, things have really turned there. And this is one thing that happens with droughts. Droughts never end from the middle out. They always begin to end from the outside in. So the edges tend to get the better precipitation first. And this is a really good example of it. So northern Wyoming doing well, not only in north central and northeastern Wyoming, but up into the Bighorn Basin. Look at that total there at Cody. That's a lot of rain with one storm for the Cody area, Powell and Wapiti and Clark there, around the Lovell area. Look at Worland, the Worland area doing well. Also Hot Springs County doing very well around Thermopolis. Lander, Riverton areas did very, very well. Northeastern Wyoming, great totals there. And we had totals that were bigger than that in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And don't forget North Dakota doing very, very well. So obviously there was a bias in the heavier moisture that went north with that storm system. This is where we are today. Yesterday's system causing a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity here. There'll be severe weather here today. Here's the gap between systems, so not a bad day. Here's the next frontal boundary that's coming through and heading southeast like that. So here's your gap that we're going to have today. The surface frontal boundary that came through yesterday is coming out into the plains. That's where the severe thunderstorms are going to be, out ahead of that cold front. And there's our little bit of high pressure that's building in right now behind it. So by tomorrow, we're going to see the system moving in. By 6 p.m. today, the low will be coming into the northwest parts of Montana. This little upper level low will produce some showers and thunderstorms out ahead of it for some of the southern areas today. So you can see where we might have a few isolated showers and thunderstorms along the Colorado Front Range into northern New Mexico than the severe weather, where the better instability and moisture is going to be. By tomorrow at noon, the system is approaching and moving on in. So the northern areas, you're going to get wet again, Montana. You're going to get wet again, northern Wyoming. It's just not going to be nearly as moist as what you just experienced. And this is the precipitation forecast that is for this second wave. So you can see it's not nearly as heavy, but there will be some showers and thunderstorms. Some of you will get a little wet with this system. So it's going to not be a dud, but it's not going to be the big producer of rain and snow that we saw with the last system. And there will be some snow. Snow levels will drop a little bit, so there's going to be a little snow along higher elevations of Interstate 80, especially Wednesday night into Thursday morning, I-70 as well in the high country. So travelers keep that in mind. Then on Friday, we have the high pressure ridge spike and build in quickly. Builds in very quickly all the way up into western Canada. So we'll have a nice warm up. This upper level low here will produce some showers and thunderstorms in the southwestern United States, but generally speaking, the central and northern Rockies will go right back to spring very quickly Friday, Saturday, and probably well through Sunday. So the big question mark about next week is right there. And as we take a look at temperatures out ahead of that low, this is the big warm up. These are the temperature anomalies for Saturday. So a little cool with that upper level low down here in Arizona, cool along the west coast with the next low coming down in, but the push of air out of the deserts will mean a big warm-up from Alberta and Saskatchewan through the central and northern Rockies. So make it tea time as we get into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Although if you're making a tea time Sunday, might want to be ready for afternoon and evening thunderstorms. So the warmth gets really pushed out ahead of that upper level low here, but you can see the coolness, actually quite cool, relative to the 30-year average in California and the desert southwest. That's because of that upper level low. Moisture is going to stream up out ahead of that low, as you'll see here in a minute, and that accounts for the coolness in West Texas and eastern New Mexico, as showers and thunderstorms will start to form there. So as we go into next week, this is by noon Sunday. The low is just west of Las Vegas, hence all that coolness that you see right there. Then we have a strong southerly flow. The clockwise rotation around the high, the counterclockwise rotation around the low is going to draw up in the lower levels warm air and, as you'll see in a moment, moisture northward, transporting it northward very, very rapidly. So it's warm, moist air that gets thrust northward as we get into Saturday, but especially Sunday and into early Monday. And what you're going to see with that, if we go forward and look at the precipitable water, now this is for starting at 6 p.m. Saturday. So that's why showers and thunderstorms here Saturday will be forming. But there's dry air out here where we're going to have a lot of stability. You can see the moisture coming in from the low. But look what happens over time. So this is 6 p.m. Saturday. This is 6 p.m. Sunday. See the moisture getting pushed north into the region as that counterclockwise spin with the low here and the high here, the clockwise spin are going to be working together. So that's going to thrust that moisture northward. That's why Sunday will bring thunderstorms to the front range and to the high plains. Then by late Monday, you're going to see that moisture get deeper and push northward all the way into Canada through the Dakotas. And then possibly, and we're hoping some of this gets wrapped westward. We'll just have to see into the front range and plains areas. So what we did yesterday is we compared the models and we showed you that there was good agreement. As you know, this doesn't happen very often, but the European is predicting by Monday morning the upper level low to be in southwest Utah. The AI version is more between Flagstaff and Page there. The GFS is near Page, and the Canadian holds it back a little bit longer over Las Vegas. But if you look, the overall general structure and placement, they're not perfect or aligned altogether, but they're pretty darn close. So this always leads to confidence that the general pattern for early next week will be affected by this upper level low as it swings through. But the devil will be in the details in terms of who gets the best rain and who doesn't. Quick update on sea surface temperature anomalies. We talked about how rapidly the waters cooled here off the coast of South America after they were warming up rapidly. Then they kind of went off a cliff and dropped very quickly, which was a bit startling because we told you El Nino was officially dead, and it still is. But there was this resurgence of colder water. Now, the last update, now this goes back here to Saturday, still shows this pocket of cooler conditions right here, but notice we're getting some pockets of warm coming back and returning. And if we look at just the change in sea surface temperatures over the last week, you can see now there's pockets of orange here where the pockets of blue were. So we're seeing kind of a stabilization of the sea surface temperatures back here, and we're starting to see some warming here into the central Pacific. And if we graph it, you can see that big drop in sea surface temperature anomalies has now leveled off and gone back up to neutral there. So that's good to see, especially as we now go into the month of May and into the months of May and June. We'll have more for you tomorrow. Have a good Tuesday.